Hello, welcome everyone. It's very exciting for me to be here today, and thank you also for coming. Yes, so I'm Lara. I'm an Android developer based in Berlin, and for those who don't know my story, I'm a self-learner. And I don't have a traditional background. I didn't study computer science, and well, I've been doing Android for a couple of years now, almost. So basically, this talk is going to be based in my own experience. Yeah. And well, today I want to convince you on why you should hire more juniors and how that can benefit you, let's say the seniors, and also your team. And of course, I will give you some tips on how to make this happen and how to help your juniors grow. So first of all, let me start with a question. How many of you think it's easy finding developers? Okay. How many of you have been part of a recruiting process in the company, meaning looking CVs or coding challenge? Okay. Now, wait. Keep your hands up. Now, do you think it's easy? No one. Okay. Yeah, so we all know that finding developers is very hard. As I said, I don't have a traditional background, and so it took me months to find my first job in tech. My first job in tech was as QA in a mobile team, and I remember shortly after I joined, they were talking about hiring developers and how hard it was, and to me that was very shocking. Like, difficult to find people to work. Come on, I spent months looking for a job. Like, I just don't get it. I didn't understand. I never thought it would be so hard to find developers. And I never thought it would be so complicated and would take that long. So there's a high demand for developers. And the market is in favor of the candidates. Sadly, that means that the turnover is really high too. And turnover means the frequency in which employees come and leave from a company. For example, during my first year in tech, I saw 6 Android developers come and leave from my team. So why is it so hard to find developers? What do companies want that they cannot find? So when it comes to hiring, companies prefer seniors. And that may be because seniors can do any task. Because seniors bring experience, right? Or because they have already the knowledge. Some companies like Netflix even had made statements like, we don't hire juniors or interns, because they can just afford the seniors. So why bother, right? But seniors are not cheap, and not every company can afford what Netflix does. And besides that, juniors bring a lot of great things to your teams and to you. So why not hire juniors? I remember in my previous company when I was QA, and they were discussing, it's very hard to find developers. And I remember one of my teammates saying, why don't we hire juniors? Why don't we look for people that just graduated from university or that are switching careers? And the answers I heard Probably you heard them too. We don't want juniors because they cannot work alone, because they need a lot of time to get onboarded, or because someone has to train them. We only want seniors. Okay, but where do seniors come from? No one is born being a senior, right? And you all seniors have been a junior before. So you all had to look for your first job, right? And for juniors, it's not easy either. Just think, some of you went to university and studied computer science. And after that, you got an internship in a company. So you had a path to follow, and well, it was, let's say, easy to find your first job. Some of you were not that lucky and had to look for the job for some time, but you got it. And I'm sure that some of you even switched careers into tech, and you had to fight even more to get your first job. So you all were juniors at some point. So you all needed that first job, your first opportunity. And getting those opportunities is not easy. It's actually very, very hard. So I want you to imagine yourself now. Well, disclaimer, I'm mentioning juniors and seniors. I know it's both extremes, but you will get a lot of ideas for you to take home. But now, imagine yourself like you're a junior, and you want to get your first job after your studies. So you need your first opportunity. But you're looking for a job, and you don't see many job positions for juniors. And those positions open require you to know many frameworks that you don't know or haven't tried. So you don't meet all the requirements. So you're thinking, how am I going to apply? And getting the first job as a junior is very tough, but it's possible. Today I want to talk about how to get your first job, how one person can get the first job as a junior, but instead I'm going to talk about what it's like to be a junior and how you can help them. So, okay, all right. Junior, you got your first job now, your first gig as a developer, and you're so happy, excited, but this struggle is not over. Actually, it just started. Meet the final boss of software development, the imposter syndrome. So you, junior, got hired into a team of seniors. You're the only junior there. And the seniors are talking about those many libraries that you have not used yet or just don't even know. They discuss things that you just don't even understand. And you start feeling like an imposter. What am I doing here? I don't belong here. And internally, you start feeling fear. And you're afraid that someone will think that you're an imposter. You're scared of working with more experienced people, afraid of asking too many questions and bothering your teammates. You're afraid of making one mistake that can affect the company. But guess what? Juniors, turns out, bring a lot of great things for you and your team. So let's take a look. Juniors bring a fresh motivation. Have you ever felt demotivated at work? Demotivation is contagious, but so is motivation. And juniors will be very, very motivated to work with you, and you will feel that energy. Juniors also bring fresh knowledge. Juniors probably have played with some libraries that you, senior, didn't have time yet to do. For example, let's say, new Android and architecture components. Maybe some of you can relate with this, like room, live data, view model, or maybe constraint layout. Maybe you didn't have the chance yet to learn it. And maybe even some of juniors have tried other things like Flutter, or web development, or data science, different things. Okay, what else? Juniors also will bring a really flexible mindset. And let's be honest, seniors may not be as flexible sometimes. After some years of working, you get very comfortable following certain approaches and using certain libraries, and you as a senior may not want to start using something else. Perhaps because you want to keep having a stable product. Though sometimes, maybe because you just don't have the motivation to learn something new. But juniors will be very motivated and flexible to try new stuff because they are willing to learn. Juniors have a learning mindset. They need to continuously learn to get more knowledge. They want to learn. And as they want to learn, they have a lot of motivation. And they will also be happy to do simple tasks that maybe you seniors don't want to do because you are tired of those already. But disclaimer, later I will tell you why, but juniors should not be giving only simple tasks. Okay, so it's clear that juniors bring a lot to a team. But, however, it's not only the other developers on your team who have to be convinced, but also managers have some expectations for them. So, now, what do managers expect from juniors and seniors? I will compare both to see the differences. Okay, so let's start with juniors. Juniors are expected to be learning, continuously learning, right? And from seniors, what do managers expect from seniors in this case? Same. We developers need to continuously learn. So seniors are also expected to be learning. And not because you are already a senior means that you can stop learning. You need to continue growing as a professional. Juniors are expected to be asking a lot of questions, right? And from seniors as well. Seniors should be open for discussion and both for willing to answer the questions but also to make them. Then managers expect that juniors will take some small tasks, and as they get some small tasks, they will be learning about the project and they will be gradually get bigger and bigger tasks. Of course, from a senior, it's expected that they can do almost anything, any kind of task. from juniors, it's not expected, of course, to know all the processes within the company. They are not expected to work across teams or even do a release alone. But instead, they are expected to learning them and growing. Of course, from a senior, it's expected to know almost about everything within the company. And finally, juniors are expected to be needing guidance. And seniors are the ones expected to provide that guidance. Part of the senior role, you are expected to guide juniors. It's part of your role. You have to be able to be working with juniors. Be able to work with juniors. And by guidance, what I mean is mentoring. So, okay, you seniors might be wondering now, what do I gain from helping juniors? So, first of all, you are going to show your company that you can lead. Also, you can delegate things you don't want to do, including attending meetings. Things you don't want to do, some tasks, you can delegate those. Attending meetings, like, you have to talk about a meeting with different teams and to talk about new idea, you can delegate that and send it junior, maybe. I'm glad that I didn't give this tip to my team, so I didn't have to do that. So that's cool. But the best part, you're going to win with helping juniors is getting a career growth, because you are expected to mentor, you are expected to work with juniors. I think this is the most important thing you get, career growth. And now I want to give you some tips on how to make this happen. So before I was saying that guidance for me, I mean mentoring. But think for a moment, what is mentoring for you? For me, mentoring is not like a teacher-student relationship. It's a moment of sharing between two people. And that works two ways. I want to give you some tips on how to make this more effective. So I said that this is sharing, it's knowledge sharing. But okay, how do you actually share your knowledge? Well, you are sharing your knowledge when you are giving constructive answers on your pull requests, or when you talk about how that library didn't work for your project and you are using this other one instead. You're sharing knowledge when you share a video of a talk or an article, or when you discuss an approach that you think it could be beneficial for your project. So in many ways, you are sharing your knowledge. And by doing that, you are mentoring a junior. You can mentor a junior. Of course, there's another skill you require to be able to effectively share your knowledge. Communication. Communication is probably one of the hardest skills to master. Think of effective communication. How can you explain a complex concept to a junior developer? So let's think of an example. Since we are in the Android meetup, I thought of an Android example related. So let's say there's a relative simple task to do, which is creating a new screen on your app with a couple of buttons. And by tapping those buttons, you will trigger a request to the backend. But the screen is nothing fancy, just something simple. And of course, your junior will be very excited to do this, right? New screen, looks easy. Okay, so now let's think you have an Android project that is following MVVM, follows repository pattern, and have use cases. And you also use Dagger for dependency injection and also RX. And I guess you can imagine now that that simple screen is not that simple. So how can the junior start creating this not that simple screen now? So a good way to do this is, of course, sit together and work together in the future. And I will give you some tips. First is focus the learning on something in particular, in a single topic. For example, following our previous example, you could just focus on the architecture pattern that your project has, one thing at a time. And it's okay to say, on this task, we are going to focus on the architecture pattern. So we are not going to focus on dependency injection or RX. And at the moment you need the dependency injection or RX, you can let the junior copy an example. They can copy an example, or you can just guide them step by step, but without going into details on the concepts. It's okay to say to them that they don't need to understand a given topic right now. And it's okay to make them focus on the other parts. They don't need to know everything the first time. And this way, you are going to be introducing concepts slowly, but without overwhelming. Another thing I really recommend to do is to sketch ideas. Just have pen and paper by hand. Sketch ideas. Draw. Use your whiteboard. This will help your juniors to visualize the explanations you are giving, and will make it easier for you, for the juniors, and also anyone listening to you explaining. So following the example we were talking about before, our Android project and creating the screen, you may end up drawing something like this. So what the junior thought it was simple, creating a new screen, is not. For example, you will explain that your project has 3 layers: data, domain, and presentation. And the first thing they have to do is to create the API client, because your screen will be doing one request. And then you will explain that you need a service and a repository and then a use case. And then all the presentation layer. So if you want to explain all the steps to be done and required parts, just use pen and paper. And this is not only helpful for connecting all those parts, but it will be very helpful that next time they have to do again a new screen, because they will have it as a reference. And fun fact, this is an actual sketch a teammate made for me to create a simple screen with 2 buttons and 1 request. months ago. Yeah. I don't really want to discuss why repository, for example, is in the domain or it should be in data, but yeah, this is an actual sketch. Okay, all the things related to communication. This applies to everyone and not only seniors. Be constructive. When reviewing code, always offer an alternative or an example. And be constructive. Don't ever say, why did you do this? Instead, you say, as I understand, you're doing this because of this reason. However, have you considered doing this other alternative? Also, instead of reviewing code on GitHub and just leaving comments there, what you can do is to have a conversation offline or in a private channel. This will feel closer to them and not like a personal attack. Always, always, always keep your criticism in private and praise in public. And this also applies to code reviews. Okay, so now your juniors are learning with you, and you may wonder, which kind of tasks can they do? Well, disclaimer, you need to be aware of the knowledge of the junior and also their capacity. Don't make them make tasks or review very complex things. And you will learn as they are doing tasks, you will learn how much they know and their capacities, and always challenge those capacities. As I said before, I was suggesting that you can give them those tasks that you don't want to do, but you have to give them diverse tasks because you want them to know the project and see different parts of the project. They need to do tasks end-to-end, UI to API. You don't want them to get bored. Also, make sure you have a good environment. Good environment with good mood and without sexism. Everyone should feel comfortable to ask any question. If seniors ask questions without attacking each other, juniors will feel more comfortable and will do the same. They will ask you questions. Pair programming is another great tool to help your juniors grow. Pair programming is not you code what I say. Pair programming is a conversation between two people around a problem. Let the junior take over the keyboard. Sit in their space so they feel more comfortable also. And pair programming will boost the learning. And now, some tips also for juniors. There are many things juniors can do to help in the situation. Okay, so when do you ask questions? Well, it's very important to keep in mind that you have to interrupt your colleagues. Don't stop yourself from asking questions. Don't wait for the right moment. The best time to ask questions is at any time. And what if you got stuck? What can you do? well, surprise, getting stuck is part of our job. And well, we all get stuck, but not everyone has the same capacity to move forward. So what can you do if you get stuck? One thing I really like to do is to time box. Maybe give yourself half a day to solve the problem you have before asking. I usually give myself around 4 hours of research before asking. Also, what I found out that helps a lot is to take breaks. Sometimes we just get stuck because we need a break and rest. And I'm sure most of you got stuck with something many times, and you felt frustrated, and you just closed the laptop and went somewhere like, I don't know, the kitchen, or maybe home. And then next day, or next time you open your laptop, you see the problem you had the previous time, and you already see the solution, or just it comes to you. So take breaks. Another thing that helps a lot when getting stuck is the rubber duck debugging. Rubber duck debugging is a way of debugging your code where, let's say you have a rubber duck and you are explaining your problem. So basically you find the issue yourself, right? I found myself doing this a lot without even noticing. I call it more like human duck debugging, where I'm like asking to a teammate, hey, do you have a couple of minutes? I have an issue. And then I'm explaining the issue, like what I need, what I want to achieve, what I've done, and I'm showing all the steps and explaining this, and I found the issue myself. Like, why did I put this here? And boom, that's it. So this helps a lot. So before starting a task for juniors, if you don't have any idea on how to start a task, of course you have to ask for guidance. A teammate can help you creating a list of steps, to-dos. But if you have already some idea, you can ask for guidance too. But instead, you can be proactive and start creating a list of things, to-dos you think you have to take, and you can share that list with your teammates. So they can help you spot early mistakes in your assumptions because they know more about the project. That helps a lot when you don't know the project and you don't know all the things that you need to consider when doing something. Okay, so I think it's clear why what juniors bring to your teams and to you, and that bringing juniors on board is perfectly doable. But of course, your team needs to be ready. Think that the benefits will compensate it. But are you still not convinced to hire juniors? Remember, you will help juniors to progress in their careers, and that is a rewarding experience that your team and you will enjoy. And you will learn, because the best way to master something is to teach it. And you and your senior developers will become better by bringing less experienced people on board and training them. There are no seniors without juniors. Sure, you can pay the seniors, but not every single company can afford that. juniors will never forget their mentors. When you dedicate part of your time helping others learn, they will value that. The juniors will value that. And will remember that, even if you don't think so. And that can help you in the future too. Let's say when you're looking for your next job. I am personally very grateful to many, many people for all the help I got growing as a developer. And I'm very grateful to Berlindroid and the Android community for being so welcome to people like me. Thank you.